Hi, do you have a child in high school or university? And have you ever watched your teen sit in class, take notes, and then maybe the next day you ask them, what did you cover in class? And they'll say something to you like, I don't remember, or I've forgotten everything, or, I have a bad memory. Well, the truth is they don't have a bad memory, okay? They don't have a memory problem. What they have is a systems problem. In fact, they have a learning systems problem, which prevents them from learning information and retaining it into their long-term memory. One of the biggest problems students have, and just so you know, no one teaches them this stuff, is that in order for them to remember information, they need to do something with that information. Now, let me ask you, how many students do you think actually know that when they go to class, they have to do something with that information right away? Well, the truth is almost no student knows this. So what do? They write down information and then they just move on. And then the next day, they've pretty much forgotten everything. Now, can you imagine what happens a few months later when they have to write their exams or tests? They remember almost nothing. And what makes things worse is that you're paying about $700 to $1,000 per class. And if your teen cannot remember this information, this is a terrible investment of time and of energy on their part, because a few days later, a few weeks later, they're going to have to learn everything from scratch all over again. And this is why school seems so overwhelming for them, and this is why they believe they have a bad memory, and this is why they feel unprepared for tests and exams, and why they don't do as well as they could do on these tests and exams. But here's what most students don't realize. There's actually a moment when information actually sticks. And that happens right after class, after they've filtered out valuable information during their class time. Now, if they miss this step, if they miss this review step, they're pretty much going to forget everything. But if they can review properly and correctly, the game changes for them. You see, when a student knows how to review correctly, their long-term memory increases. They understand concepts at a deeper level. They see patterns and trends in terms of what they could be tested on exams and tests. And when their exams and tests do come, they feel extremely prepared. In fact, we've seen students increase their long-term memory by over 50%. Just by fixing this one habit. Now, here's the best part. They don't have to study more. They don't have to study longer. They just have to study smarter. So what I did was created something very simple but powerful for your team. I've created something called an after-class review checklist. Okay, it's 2 pages here. Okay, but this checklist, it'll show them exactly how to review after each class. They'll be able to use their time wisely so they can retain valuable information quickly. They can lock in valuable information that's been covered in their class, and then they can start preparing for their exams in a much more effective way. Instead of spending hours and hours studying, they could shorten that time, but they'll be much more effective. In fact, they'll stop forgetting information and they'll start understanding things at a much, much more deeper level. If your child knows how to review correctly, school all of a sudden starts to become easier for them. They remember material. They feel that they're more intelligent, they're smarter, they experience less stress. Their grades become better and more predictable. So they'll walk into the exams thinking that I already have a good idea of what's going to be asked of me. I already have a really good idea of how to answer these questions correctly. You know what? I'm ready to go and I'm confident I'm going to do well. So listen, if you'd like me to send this to you, okay, this checklist, just type in class or after class review checklist and I'll send it to you right away. Thank you.